Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Victoria Ayodele Fash. If it's your first time on this channel, where have you been? Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like this video, to subscribe to this channel, leave a comment. I'd like to hear from you guys. Thank you guys so much. I feel like it's been forever since I spoke to you guys, but anyways, today I have a very interesting conversation, right? In the last video, if you've been following lately, we've been talking a lot about intimacy in the context of marriage. We have a masterclass happening this week. I am so happy. I cannot wait to share with you guys all the things that we have planned. It's going to be a fun time. If you're yet to register, if the registration has not closed yet, use the link below in the description box to register. And yeah, I'm so excited to have the class and to meet a number of you. It will be such fun. Anyways, thank you so much to as many that have registered. In the last video, we spoke about oral sex, anal sex, and something else. What was the other thing? And something else. I can't remember what the last thing is. Anyways, in a Christian marriage. And a number of you had some questions. And one of the major questions I had in the last video was about couples that are distant. When talking about oral sex, I believe. Oh, and sex toys. I remember now. So a number of you were asking about, couples that are long distance, how do they keep the intimacy? How should they keep the intimacy alive, considering the distance? And whilst a number of you asked in the comment section, somebody actually reached out to me, on my DMs, and she narrated her story. I'm going to use her story as the baseline for this for this conversation, but I'm not going to read into details, just to make sure that there's no identity issue. But anyway, she said, I and my husband, we've been in a long distance relationship for some time now and still praying to God to approve us and unite us physically this year. But he has asked me for online intimacy, but I personally don't really enjoy it. I don't like touching myself to create intimacy, and I feel so bad because even though I want to, I feel disconnected. But I love being with him physically. I don't know if you understand. And secondly, well, she had something else that she was asking about, which I'm going to respond to after this video. I'm really sorry I've not responded on time. But she was asking about that. And somebody else in the comment section also asked the question about intimacy when you're long distance. And I believe I've done a video about this because maybe a number of you are new to this channel. Myself and my husband actually had a 1 year long distance marriage when I was in the US and he was in Nigeria. So yeah, that was a very interesting time. And we spoke about how to keep the spark alive. I believe that I have a video about that. I'll leave it link in the description box below. But I'm just going to use this video to address a few things about that. But before I do, somebody actually sent me an email in response to the video that I did. But he sent me an email and I thought I was going to address it here instead of sending him because I don't know if you notice, I like to talk more than I like to type. So he said, hi, Coach Victoria. Interesting. I don't call myself a coach, but anyways, he said, the video where you did very exclusive teaching about the subject was my second time ever listening to you. The first was when you talked on things they usually don't tell people about sex in movies, etc. Brilliant work, But ma, just an observation. I noticed your submission on oral sex. You use the word kissing the genitals, in this case for the male penis. The question I would like to ask for clarity is, what happens to the sperm? Or better still, is drinking of sperm. The way you say drinking, like the points in the cup. I'm sorry. But let's move on. She said, is drinking of sperm, where is it now? Where am I? Basically, she's saying that is when the man ejaculates, is it what you meant by healthy content? I must confess you spoke as both a professional and Christianly person that you are, but I noticed a tactical deviation or systemic avoidance, wow, of that, just as you did when you spoke about anal sex. I look forward to receiving a feedback from you. So basically, his question, or her question, I don't know, was about what happens to the sperm when you give oral sex. Is it healthy for you to do that? And to be honest, I did not tactically deviate from it. I just did not think that far. Right. Now, when it comes to ejaculation and sperm, the thing is, there are some people who are okay with swallowing, the sperm. I actually have not researched to that point if there's any health implication to. Let me actually do that. Let's hear what ChatGPT says, right? It says swallowing semen, which is sperm containing seminal fluid, is generally not harmful for most healthy adults, but there are a few health considerations to be aware of. The first one is sexually transmitted infection. Obviously, you should know that chlamydia, gonorrhea, hepatitis B, human papillomavirus, HIV, you can get all of those, through oral sex, right? Particularly swallowing the sperm, right? The infection can cause throat or mouth infection, particularly if you have cut or, gum diseases. And this happens even without the cum, because one thing you need to understand is there is the pre-cum, there is the cum, and that happens for a lot of men. So the first time you might think they have ejaculated, that the semen had come out, but it's not. It's the pre, and then the main cum comes after the pre. So even the pre-cum can give you some of this infection if the man is infected. So if the man obviously has, and the woman, it goes both ways, right? If there's an infection, obviously you are at risk of getting that infection, right? Allergy, so which is rare. I say some people have rare conditions called seminal plasma hypersensitivity, which makes them, and this even happens to, and I know this particular one because it happens even to women. There are some women that are allergic to sperm, that even when the husband ejaculates inside of them, they have burning sensation in their stomach. That happens to a lot of women also. Some is not. For some women, particularly if you're new to having sex, you would have certain reaction when you just are having sex. Like, I remember when I just started, every time, semen is deposited inside of me, I would go to the toilet, I would have a running stomach, I would purge. Very annoying, right? So eventually your body will get used to it. But there are some that are actually allergic to it. Digestive effects. So semen itself is mostly water, proteins, and sugar like fructose, enzyme, and minerals, and it digests just like every other protein in your stomach. It generally does not cause stomach problems. Number 4, if both partners are healthy, they've been tested for STD, and they are in a mutually monogamous relationship, which means that you are not having sex with any other person, it considers it okay. And of course, you have to be careful. I said it in the last video of, sores, bleeding gums, and all of that. So swallowing semen itself is not toxic or harmful, but there's health risk for STI, which I addressed a lot in that video. So yes, I get your reservation, but when it comes to the health concern, which was one of the points that you raised, I have read it. It is not harmful if you are healthy and the person that you're having it with, your husband or your wife, is healthy, and you are in a monogamous relationship in such a way that you're not having sex with any other person. Now, it's also, first of all, you know that you don't have to wait until the person comes before you stop oral sex, right? You can get the person to the peak and you take your mouth off. If you're not comfortable with the person, putting stuff inside your mouth, you can take yourself off and use your hand to complete the job, right? So I want to believe that, we're probably from a conservative background. I totally understand that. But you absolutely do not have to let the person finish inside, your husband or your wife, to finish inside of your mouth. You can use your hand to complete the job once you feel like they are close, right? And if for any reason it entered your mouth, when you are done, go and pour it in the dustbin, in the toilet, and rinse your mouth. You don't have to swallow it. Nobody is going to force you. And if your spouse is forced, like, why does it give you pleasure for me to swallow your semen? Like, why, right? So anyways, I hope that answers your question. When it comes to the health factors, there are risks, and the risk is the same as when you're having just normal oral sex. But when it comes to like digestive whatever, your sperm will digest just like your food will digest, because it contains minerals and proteins and all of that, just like our humble ChatGPT has informed us, right? So yeah, I hope that addresses the question. And you absolutely do not have to. You don't even have to do oral sex if you're not comfortable with it. I said it in the last video. So yeah, just make sure that you're taking all the health precautions. And if for any reason it enters your mouth, you're uncomfortable, go and you can even brush your teeth out after if you don't like the aftertaste, right? And it goes the same way for women also, because women, when we don't have like semen or whatever, but there are fluids that also come out of us when we get to orgasm. And for some men, they don't mind, swallowing it or whatever. For some other people, when they are done, they go and pour it away, or they don't. Yeah, for the woman, it's just that it's a bit different because you have to be there till she finishes, right? So, but anyways, that's just what I'm going to say about that. It is still your decision if you want to swallow it or you don't want to swallow it, right? So let us get into the topic for today. Sex in long distance marriage. How do you navigate it? Now, we kind of live in a time where there are more long distance marriages than there were like 5 years ago. A lot of people are abroad, their partners are living abroad, and long distance can be very, very, very frustrating, right? Particularly when it comes to, sex and everything. But before we even get into like the sex, I just want to lay the foundation, because if you are in a long distance relationship, before you even get into marriage, if there's a possibility, because I have one case, oh God, I need to respond to that lady's DM. I already responded, but I need to respond to the last message she sent about, about to get into a marriage, and there's a possibility that they might be long distance for over a year. For me and my husband, it was easy. It wasn't easy. Long distance marriage is not easy. But when we're dating, we're long distance. I don't know if you know the story. We met on Instagram and we dated for 6 months on online, right? Before we eventually saw ourselves face to face. And after we saw ourselves face to face, for the 3.5 years of our dating, we were long distance. We're never in the same city at the same time. So we're always coming to visit and everything. And that was our relationship, before we then got married. And then after 1 year of marriage, we ended up doing long distance marriage. So I believe that our time as dating long distance during our dating phase prepared us in a way for the long distance that we had in our marriage, and it was just for a year, right? And for a lot of people, this is not one of the conversations that you have when you're dating, because for us, we did not envision ourselves having long distance marriage. It just happened. And for a lot of people find themselves in that situation right now, it's most likely something you did not plan. Maybe, financial issues came up, or somebody got a job somewhere and you have to be distant, right? But it is definitely, I would say that before you get to a marriage now, you guys need to have the conversation about long distance marriage. And you see, your practice for your sexual whatever, or how your sex life is going to be in a long distance marriage, it starts when you're dating. I always say this, that if you're dating and the person cannot stay without having sex with you, you will struggle to trust the person when you are long distance married. Right? And I'm being honest with you. One of the reasons why it was easy for me to trust my husband for the 1 year, and I can say it anywhere, right? And it was easy for him also, because it's not only men that cheat, women cheat too. It was easy for him also because during our dating phase, I could trust him, right? That he would wait and nothing is going to happen, right? Am I saying that if people were having sex, something? No, I'm not saying that anything is going to happen. I'm just saying that it is easier if you guys have practiced abstinence before marriage. It will be easier, harder, not easier. Let me say it again. It will be easier for you. Let me rephrase. It will be easier for you who have practiced abstinence before marriage to deal with a long distance marriage than for a person who has not. It doesn't mean that it will be short. It will be it will be tougher because it is one thing for you not to have had sex or to have abstained for sex for a long time. It is another thing for you to have had sex consistently in marriage and then have to abstain totally for a period of time. It is a different ball game, right? Because your body now knows this thing. Your body now demands for this thing. Every time you talk to that person and they say certain things, your body responds, but then the person is not there. So it is hard. Don't get me wrong, right? But it is better when you have practiced abstinence during your courtship period. It makes it a bit easier for you, and I know it did for us when we eventually got when we eventually had to be long distance in our marriage. Now, it is easy for me to tell you, oh, wait till you guys, meet, and it is worth the wait. You guys will desire each other more when you meet each other, and it is true. All of that is true, but it depends on the length of the time that you guys will be separated, because I know people who have been separated from their spouse for 3 years waiting for visa approval, particularly if you're in the US, right? There's some who have been separated for a year, some for 2 years, some for 3 years, and for some there is no even hope of you meeting each other anytime soon. Before we even get into the nitty-gritty, I'm also going to mention that whenever you guys decide, or if for any reason you and your partner have to be long distance, always define the length of the period, because that would help you to know. I think that for us, because we kind of had an idea of how long. I mean, it wasn't for sure. We're not the people that issue visa, but at least we had an idea of how long we'll be separated. It gave me something to anticipate towards. So it was always okay. I know that okay, it will be hard the first few months, but in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, we'll be together. That kind of gave us or gave me that assurance and helped to like steady some of those feelings, right? But that's for me. But I feel like it is so important if you guys end up or be in a situation where there'll be long distance, right? You guys have to define how far are you guys willing to go, right? It's not that you then go or then you are waiting or you end up staying without having paper, so you can't even leave the country, and then your wife is waiting for 5 years, for 6 years, waiting for you, and then one person is and you are expecting him not to move, or you're expecting her not to have somebody else, so I'm not saying that you do that. I'm just saying that the longer marriage is not meant for you guys to do it apart. For me, no matter how great the US is, the UK is, no matter how tough Nigeria is, where me and my marriage is one of my primary assignments on earth. As long as I've taken that step to be one with my partner, that marriage becomes one of them. It becomes, in short, that marriage becomes the most intentional part of my life, right? So if for any reason something is going to put us apart, we would not schedule our marriage around that thing. No, we schedule the occasion or the issue around our marriage. What I'm trying to say is that there might be situations where you got a new job or whatever, and then you guys have to be separated. That is fine, for a short while, maximum a year. That is my own take. Maximum 1 year. If after 1 year that thing is still keeping us apart, we don't center our marriage around that job. We don't center our marriage around that thing. We center that thing around our marriage. How do we make it work? And if for any reason it is not possible, what is the alternative? Right? I've said it before. If for any reason, I was still in the US, my husband could not join me or whatever, right? The next thing will be for me to go back to Nigeria, or for us to look for another country where the two of us can be together, or for, at least for him to maybe get something that will bring him to Canada, that will be closer, that we can see each other maybe every other month or something. There has to be a plan on how you guys will reconnect. You can't just go into marriage, a long distance marriage, and say, let us see how it goes. That is one of the things that makes it difficult, because even if it's 1 year, the fact that you don't know when is going to make it puts your body in a state of hopelessness. So when you feel that way, it's tougher for you to deal with. Unlike if you know that, okay, in the next 2 months, in the next 1 year, we're going to see each other, and we'll be able to do everything we want to do. There's something for you to anticipate. But when you don't know, there is no anticipation. What you have is hopelessness. It's hope, right? There is no anticipation. And that makes the demand on your body even tougher. Right? Not to talk of the temptation. Even the Bible says that don't be separated for too long, so that the devil will not tempt you. Right? That the devil will not take advantage of you, because even God knows that when you are starved sexually, the devil will start to bring ideas to you. So yeah, I just needed to lay that foundation before we begin. Marriage is never meant for you people to do it apart. So if for any reason you guys are apart, always have a plan for you to reconnect. If it means moving to a closer country, if it means you have to come in on a student visa whilst to figure things out, if it means look for the strategy and bring yourself back together. It is so important. Now, when it comes to intimacy in marriage, you have to invest so much on your emotional intimacy when it comes to marriage. How do you feel? What are you feeling? You have to be expressive in how you feel it. And you see, intimacy becomes even difficult when one person wants certain things and the other person does not feel comfortable, which is the case of this lady. Right? My husband likes phone sex, for instance, but I don't feel comfortable. I can't touch myself. I can't do this. I want to say something, but that's for the masterclass. There are just so many things I can't say here. But what I'm going to say regarding this is that you both have to have that conversation. One thing you don't want your partner to be feeling when you guys are long distance is neglect, or feeling like you don't care about their feelings. Because the truth is, when we are together, I can rub your head, I can make you understand why I'm not in the mood. But when we are long distance, I don't have that proximity. All I have is my words, and there's a lot of problem with words. Tone can be misinterpreted, right? Words can be misinterpreted. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, when it comes to words. And sometimes I understand that we are not comfortable with certain things because of our background, which is normal. We are Africans. We don't explore. right? Many of us grew up not even being able to call vagina, right? So not to talk of having to touch yourself, whilst you're talking to your husband. It seems wrong. It feels wrong. And I totally get it. I'm not even, trying to castigate you, whatever. And there are some risk that comes with, when you get used to touching yourself. When it's time for penetration, you might not feel the same way, because then your body, remember we said sex is something that your body adapts to. Your body starts to adapt to certain sexual things, or there are certain things that now arouses you, and there are certain things that will no longer arouse you. And then you have to start learning again how to make your body enjoy penetration, because your body, and let me tell you, it takes a long time. If your body get used to masturbation, it takes a long time. And there's a problem also with masturbation, because before you know what is happening, you want to involve pornography, or you want to start to involve certain things, particularly if you don't have a good imagination. So there are a lot of risk that you need to look towards and then try to avoid. The risk should not be a reason why you don't engage in intimacy on the phone or whatever with your partner. Of course, you have to be careful. Video calls. There are a lot of things that me and my partner did when we're separated to build intimacy. It did not have to be sex, right? Maybe I'm having a shower and we're having video call, and I let him watch me have a shower, right? Or or you're dressing up and those things build intimacy. You see, for a lot of people, beyond man and woman, beyond just wanting to be physically intimate, or well, not physically, or long distance intimate, it is the feeling of being desired. They want to feel like you still desire them, even though they are long distance, right? So you need to make sure that you are feeling that tank very well. It is so important in long distance marriage that you let your partner know that I still want you, I still desire you. And one of the ways you can do it, sending pictures, sending flirty text, tell him, when you guys are, when me and my husband when we're long distance, we had plenty time to talk. So sometimes we reminisce. I'll tell you, do you remember that day when we were, this and that, when we were in this place, when something happened, we're reminiscing on our sexual encounters in the past. And we'll talk about the things we plan on doing to ourselves when we meet each other, which my husband fulfilled. But anyways, right? So think about, reminisce on past sexual encounter. Talk about the things you like to do to each other when you meet each other. And those things then start to build anticipation in your body, and before you know what is happening, it builds the connection, and that thing that is making you restrict yourself, you start to let go of them, because communication starts to open. It starts to break down the barriers. So every time you talk, it's not always money, some family problem. No, something. Just talk about yourself. Talk about your sexual lives. Talk about your sexual past. What you're looking forward to doing when you guys meet. Talk about how you miss him. I miss your body. I miss your scent. I miss your, let him feel desired. That is one of the biggest need that you need to fulfill in a long distance marriage. And that is one of the ways for you to also break down that barrier that is not allowing you to be expressive with your partner. And when you start to get comfortable, with the little things, like calling him when you are dressing up, calling him, sending pictures, sometimes blur your face or remove your face or just cut your face or whatever it is that will make him, desire you. When you start to do those things, you yourself start to get more comfortable. So it takes a process. It was my first time too at the time. I'd never done something like that before, right? But little by little, you will get comfortable with it. But don't just shut your partner down. I know I'm all over the place, but I really hope that you are getting the message. Don't shut your partner down when they are demanding, or when not demanding, when they are asking for intimacy when you're long distance. Look for a way around it, right? I know that it might be uncomfortable for you. Read books. You don't have to do it. You just have to let them feel like you are doing it, right? I'm not asking you to lie to your partner. If the discussion comes up, you can let him know. I mean, you don't want to also spoil the mood, so I'll leave that to your discretion. I'm not asking you to lie to him, but if it's something that he wants and you are not feeling, there are ways that you can help him to, get off without you doing anything, right? He's your husband. Remember, your marriage bed is between the two of you, right? So there is nothing, well, there are certain things that you shouldn't be doing. But God was intentional about, not telling us what we need to do on our marriage bed. So you need to be creative. You need to find ways. But beyond the physical intimacy, you have to build emotional connection. But I get it, right? Particularly for the men, when they are apart from their wives, they want to feel some kind of connection. Maybe, and sometimes for women also, not just for men. Sometimes you're ovulating, your body is asking for things, and you want to hear certain things from your husband. You want to, yeah. This is not for YouTube. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that, yes, I know that intimacy on the phone can be hard for us, particularly coming from African background, but there are ways that you can help your partner. You have to also maybe read books, maybe try to find out, why am I uncomfortable with this? Is it really uncomfortable, or is it because I think it's a sin? And if it's because you think it's a sin, I think you need to maybe study your Bible more, right? So there are a lot of things when it comes to sex, as long as it's with your legally married partner, you guys are free to explore a lot of things, as long as it's just between the two of you. Remember we said in the last video, no external object, no external person, right? As long as it's just between the two of you, you are free to explore certain things. And as long as it's not demeaning the other person, there's consent, you guys are comfortable with it, and it's not something that is outside, God's natural plan for intimacy, right? Remember we said sex is not just penetration, and I've said it over and again. It's not just penetration. There are certain situations where you guys will not be able to penetrate, like this long distance marriage is one of the reasons why, one of the ways. So you guys have to then look for other ways to help yourself get, to help yourself build sexual intimacy even while you are apart. It's not a bad thing, and I get it. I am not even trying to undermine how you feel, not being comfortable and everything. But I think that beyond you not being comfortable, you need to ask yourself, why are you not comfortable? Is it a spiritual thing? Do you need to maybe seek counsel from your pastors? Is it a moral thing? Is it something that or cultural thing? Is there something about your culture, your background? Then if that is the case, you have to start disabusing yourself from some of those things and realize that in your marriage, sex is allowed. You are allowed to explore each other. You are allowed to explore your sexual sides and everything in your marriage, as long as it's with your partner, right? And if you don't feel comfortable, you can also, let him feel. If your mind drifts away, you don't have to let him know your mind have drifted, because you mentioned that sometimes our mind just drifts, right? Sometimes you need to, why is your mind drifting, right? You have to bring your mind back. But if your mind is not just there, you don't have to let him know that your mind is not there. Just be present for him in that moment and tell him what he wants to hear. And maybe on another time when it's not that period, you guys can then talk about it, right? But I get it. But my dear, you guys, you need to look for a way to build that intimacy. So maybe start with, just make sure that you're putting all online safety guidelines. Maybe start with undressing. When you're calling him, send him pictures that maybe you find uncomfortable, but those are some of the ways to help you to feel okay, right? Make sure that, again, online safety guidelines, it's so important. Make sure that don't put your face in I'm saying it again, even if it's your husband. Yeah, just because please don't guys say it's Victoria Fash that said, I beg you. Right? So yeah, maybe, I said some of the ways that me and my husband did, some of the ways we also did. Sometimes when I'm in the mood, I just call him and I tell him, tell me something nice. Tell me something like I'm feeling. I tell him how I'm feeling. I'm horny right now. And he'll tell me, how can I help? What do you need? Right? And we look for ways. We talk about it. He writes me some nice nice poems that make me feel one way. And whatever it is that works for you guys, right? But I know it can be uncomfortable, and I've said it before, but I'm saying it again. I know it can be uncomfortable at the beginning, but find out why and try to address it. Maybe read books, read articles on how to build intimacy even when you're long distance. But remember, beyond the intimacy, the physical intimacy, build emotional intimacy. That's one of the great things about long distance relationship. You get to talk. Hey, because all you have is communication, right? You get to talk about your feelings. You get to talk about you get to be expressive in your sexual communication, and it really helps to the point that when you meet each other, it just changes the game. It changes the game totally, because you guys have been naked emotionally to each other, right? And yeah, it just builds some kind of bond and connection between the two of you. So beyond the physical intimacy, which is important, particularly if you have been long distance for a long time, long distance for 2 years, 3 years, is the man a wood? Is the woman a firewood? Sometimes the body is going to ask. The body is going to demand for intimacy. And you guys need to find a way to figure it out, right? Even if you feel like you're not comfortable, find out why you're not comfortable. You didn't come to the world feeling uncomfortable about it. There's something that made you uncomfortable with it. Figure out what it is and work on it. Read books, read videos, send him flirty texts. There are several ways that you can build those things. You know, start with flirty text, flirty pictures here and there, video calls here and there, send him, I feel like I'm having a reaction on my thigh. There's nothing there, just sending the picture, right? Just little things like that, right? So yeah, I know I've addressed your question somewhere in all of these things that I've spoken about, but it is important. You cannot let your partner feel neglected. Yeah, you have to figure out what is going on and work on it. Again, get there. You don't have to, no one is going to force you to do anything that you're uncomfortable with. But beyond just, I'm not comfortable, find out why am I not comfortable and maybe work on that. In your marriage, whether long distance or short, but remember, at the end of the day, you guys are planning to be together. That should always be at the forefront of whatever plans that you guys have. But one thing you need to also know is in marriage, you are allowed to have sex. So please, have sex with your partner, whether it is long distance or short distance, okay? But also know where the boundaries are, right? If you get to the point where you feel like it's not every time. So let me tell you something. If you're having intimacy, phone intimacy or virtual intimacy with your partner, it should not be every time. Because remember, you don't want to teach your body the wrong way to get intimacy. So it is something that when it's needed, you guys can engage in that. But also you need to understand where the boundaries are. If you feel like when he's not there, you are starting to feel like doing it by yourself, maybe you need to take a break, right? So if you start to feel like, oh, maybe you should be watching things, maybe you need to take a break and let him know that it's beginning to have this effect on me. Let's take a break. We'll get back to it. So know what your body can handle and, be open to it. I pray that God will give us understanding. I think that is as much as I can see on this subject, and I hope that I've addressed your question and the people who asked the question in the last video. If I have not, maybe reach out to me and tell me what your reservations are. You can reach out to me on Instagram on victoria.a.fash, or you can leave a comment, or you can send me an email, all right? And yeah, that's what we'll be ending today's video. I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, leave a comment, and thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Until then, my name is Victoria Fash, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have an amazing week, okay? Bye.